What's good, bro? So recently I got into this situation with one of my friends where I said something and it hurt this person's feelings. And when you get into situations like this, it's hard to say whose fault it is. If you look at the other side, they'll say it's my fault. If I look at the other side, I'll say it's his fault because he can choose his reaction. And he chose to react in that way. And maybe he should. But the bottom line is this. I realize that not everything happens and is meant to be forever. With this friend, he was a childhood friend that I had had. And we were friends for, he was my best friend when I was a kid. From the time I was probably 5 years old until I was 12. This guy was my ride or die. You don't know the things that we got into. Crazy things. We would be in church, and I remember we didn't want to be in the church service, so we would sneak out to go to the bathroom when they would have the church service and they didn't have Sunday school, and we would just chill in the hallways, run in the hallways. If somebody sees us, we run away from them. We were always on our shit. And it just so happened that my cousin got married, and my cousin got married about 2 years ago. And at my cousin's wedding was actually the first time I'd seen him in a long time. And it was a point where we could actually talk and we could discuss things with each other. So we sat there and we talked, and I realized how similar this guy was to me, and that the kind of path he was on was similar to mine. And so here I am, and I'm like, yo, bro, we should talk again. I don't know how it just happened, but we just reconnected like this, like we never skipped a beat. And so very quickly he became my best friend. And I was like, yo, this is so awesome. I get to reconnect with one of my childhood friends in a way that most people don't get to do it. And then after a little while, it was maybe a year and a half of us talking. We would talk almost every day, sometimes for an hour. I would be coming home from work at 9 o'clock, and I talked to him till it's 10, sometimes 10:30. And we would have such a good time. We would have such engaging conversations. We would both push each other to become better people. We would develop ourselves in that way. And it's something that a lot of men don't have. And that was such a beautiful thing that we had. And then I messed up. The reason I messed up is because I didn't choose my words carefully. And I realized this: intentions don't matter, actions do. And if your actions hurt somebody else, something wasn't right with your communication or with your way of effectively talking to this person. So they took what you said and they took it in the wrong way. And maybe you had a good intention, but the way that you came out there, the way that you said it, wasn't right. Here's what communication is. Communication is not what you say. It's what the other person perceives from what you said. And so if you think you communicated the right thing, but the other person takes it the wrong way, it's on you. It's not on the other person, because you're the one in control of how you're going to say something. And so I said something, and I said it in the wrong way at the wrong time. Even if it was with a good intention, even if I actually did want to help him. And sometimes tough love is necessary, but sometimes tough love isn't always appreciated. And so you have to be perspicacious, and you have to recognize when it is the right time to use compression and when is the right time to use compassion. And I didn't understand the difference between the two at the time. And I thought this might be a good time to use some compression, to speak from my high point, so that I might help him realize that where he is in life isn't exactly where he should be or where he's going to be. So I said what I said, and I can't regret it, because everything happens for a reason. If I said that, it needed to be said. It was on my heart. Maybe I didn't just need to say it the way that I did, but I did say it, and it's over and done with. And for a little while, I was trying to mend the friendship, trying to glue it back together. But have you ever tried to glue glass that is broken back together? You're trying to find the right piece, trying to find where it fits, and it just doesn't fit right. There's still that little piece of glue that's stuck in between you and the piece of glass. And that's what I realized. And I tried to put it back together, and it just wasn't going back. It wasn't fitting right. He realized this, and so did I. So we used to be on the same phone plan because we were literally that close. So we were like, yo, let's join up on a phone plan. We'll both save money that way. And he said, well, that's what's up. So we were on the same phone plan for about a year or so. And after a while, it actually happened very recently, I just texted him. I was like, hey, did you pay for your part of the bill already? And he just texted me out the blue and he was like, yeah, I left T-Mobile, or I left your phone provider. I was like, oh, I didn't know. You didn't tell me, is what I was reacting in my head. And I started to get a little bit angry. I started to boil up inside a little bit. I was getting heated in my head, and I'm thinking, like, how can this person just leave it and not even say anything? Like, how does he think that's right? But then I had the most beautiful realization. And I realized that when he left the plan, that was him signaling that this is over. It's done. And I realized that's okay. Instead, I turned that rage, that anger, that frustration into gratitude. And I think a lot of times part of the problem that we have in the modern day is that people don't confront their issues. And before, if you insulted somebody and they felt disrespected, you're straight up like, you guys are gonna fight. And after you fight, you bash it out and then you're back together. Like, straight up, people used to solve their problems by dueling. And now we're just in this modern age where we can just talk about it. Let's not actually do anything physical like men. We'll just talk it out maybe a few months later, or maybe never talk about it at all. I used to be the type of person that would never confront anything. I would just keep it on my chest. I'd wear my heart on my sleeve, but I'd keep it on my chest. And it never worked out for me. And so in this moment when I was feeling this anger that this guy has left the phone plan, which was so minimal, such a small thing, I realized that instead of being upset, I can be grateful. I use the law of substitution, which states that your mind can only hold one thought at a time. You can always substitute a negative thought for a positive one. So I took the negative thought and I turned it into gratitude, and I felt so much more calm. As I went from the kitchen to the living room in my friend's house, I sat down and I just thought about how grateful I was that I even got this much time with this person that I used to know. And it's a beautiful thing. It's not something to be upset over. It's something to be happy about. Because I could be upset and he could be upset and it wouldn't solve anything. But if I can take this boiling anger that I have and turn it into gratitude, then I've effectively done alchemy. I've turned something negative into something positive. I've turned the copper into gold. And so now I just feel grateful. And so when something happens to you, maybe it's with a relationship that you have, and you're not friends with this person anymore, or your girlfriend left you, instead of thinking about how you're the victim, think about how you're the victor. Because that's what gratitude is. It's a win. You've won. You got this. Peace.